Hi, friends. This is Caitlin. Welcome back to the Pink and Main channel. Uh, whether you are joining us on Facebook or on YouTube, I am so grateful. I saw some of you guys in the chat already. That just makes my heart so happy to know that you guys are excited. I have been having a little bit of a week, so I thought that I would take it back to my true love of card making, and we would do some Copic coloring tonight. So not a full scene, but we're going to be building a scene using some adorable images from one of my favorite stamp sets of all time. If Michelle ever gets rid of this stamp set, I might cry. I love it that much. And it's perfect for spring, but it's also a good one for year round. So let's just go ahead and jump in. I'm seeing people checking in and saying hi. I see Heather, Jay, Susan. I'm so excited you guys are here. Akoma Crafts. Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful for you guys. Let me switch up. There we go. All right. So we're going to be starting off our card today with this beautiful limey green pattern, which is from the Be Kind pattern paper pad. All right. And then we're going to build on top of that with a piece of ice rink cardstock, which you can see I ran through my Garden Gate embossing folder already. And you could do the side where everything's pushed up. I prefer this side where those lines are pushed in. So there you go. That's the side we're going to be using. And I have this one trimmed down to 3 3/4 by 5. So we're going to get a really nice border there. Of course, I have my side folding A2 card base. And then the main feature of this card tonight, all of our coloring fun, is going to be with the Ladybug Garden stamp set. This one is so adorable. So we're going to be coloring in, I have my images stamped here. It might be easier just to show you this way. So we're going to be doing both sides of the garden. I have a couple bugs ready to go and a couple extra leaves. And we're going to be building our own little garden scene for our ladybugs. Absolutely stinking adorable. So I'm thinking what I want to do is go ahead and get my card base and all of my stamping done first. And that way we give everybody else a couple minutes to find us and jump in. So my loving mother watches me every week, and I really appreciate all of her support. But last week she asked me, why don't you stamp the inside of your cards? And I was like, you know what? Fair question, Mom. Why don't I stamp the inside of my cards more often? So today, to honor her, we are going to stamp the inside of my card. So this stamp set has some adorable sentiments. Sorry to bug ya. You've been on my mind lately. Enjoy your special day. We should hang out soon. Hey, sweet lady. I think we're going to do that. I think we'll do Hey, sweet lady on the front, or maybe a long one, but still one of those. And then the We should hang out soon can go on the inside. So let me grab that. And you know what? I was thinking earlier, I want to do this as a, well, I should leave it that way, right? But we're going to spin this around. I want to do this card as a horizontal card because portrait is kind of my default. And sometimes it's nice to change things up. So I'm gonna estimate that. That's pretty close to straight. I need to clean my Misty door. Oh man, that'll be on my list of things to do tomorrow. And I'm going in with this for this sentiment and the one we're going to do for the outside with the Park ink, because that's going to coordinate with that pattern paper. And with these, because the ink pads are so juicy, you don't want to push down really hard with the ink pad, but you also don't want to push down hard with your stamp. So I'm just using one finger and kind of gently pressing across, and more just giving that ink time to transfer versus pushing, because these stamps are a little on the thinner side, and I'm worried if I push them down that they're just gonna smush and get super blurry. We don't want that. So that part is good to go. And then I have a scrap of ice rink from my panel that I embossed. And we're gonna go ahead and do our sentiment for the front. I'm thinking something longer just because I like the idea of it kind of going across our little garden scene we're gonna make. So maybe a little note from me to you. And then we can add some kind words in there with our request for a hangout. So I'm gonna line this up at the bottom, and we're gonna use the bottom of this to just kind of cut and create our own little thin sentiment strip. Aren't they so adorable, Jay? I love them so much. Little note from me to you. One of my best friends, her favorite like animal or little like thing is ladybugs. And so every time I see this stamp set, I also think of her. So that's nice. Maybe this card can go to her. She's pregnant and due in May. So this will be a good one maybe for right after the baby comes. I can send her a little happy note and a little encouragement. Every mama can use some of that. All right, I'm gonna get out. I just got this trimmer and I'm testing it out. So far, I do really like it. I'm gonna line it up there. Oh, I keep forgetting it has the wire, and that's nice because you can line up exactly what width you want when you're trying to do like a stamp sentiment like that. I'm gonna leave this a little long, and then I can decide how far I want to trim down the edges when we get to that point. So that is our stamping done. Let's get our card base together so then I can just focus wholeheartedly on my coloring. So we're going to go in with my liquid glue because tape runners for lining up card bases just makes me so nervous. I like having that extra couple seconds to wiggle everything around, make sure that it feels right. I had to double check that my sentiment's on the right side. And at the end, I'll go in and trim off that little bit of extra that's on that edge, but I'm really not too worried about that. And then our embossed panel. Right? I love great sentiments almost as much as I love sentiment coordinating dies, Heather. That I'm a sucker for a sentiment die. And this stamp set doesn't have that, but the sentiments are so like fine detailed and the writing is so thin and like prim that I think that that would be, it might be like a little much to have a coordinating die. So I think this is going to be perfect, right? We're just going to pop it something like that and have our little scene right on top. And I think that's going to work out so perfectly for us. So let's go ahead now and jump into our coloring. I did pull my markers ahead of time just to help me out, and I have you guys on a little bit of an angle with the camera, so hopefully that helps. Right? That embossing folder is so beautiful, the garden gate, and it's great. Like I said, the debossed or the embossed side are both amazing. So I grabbed some greens to try to match the park colors the best that I could. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of my leaves taken care of first. Let me get my Copic coaster. Put on the side there so you guys can see. My darkest shade for my greens today is going to be a YG17. We're going to go in and shade these big leaves first. I'm going to shadow the bottom part and then the veins. Is everybody having a good week so far? I love doing these lives on Tuesdays and Thursdays because it feels like it keeps the pace of my week going. It keeps everything moving so smoothly, but also quickly for me. Let's shade this one the other way, just because I'm not positive where they're going yet. So YG17, YG13. And I do have a little bit of a filter on my camera right now, just because it's hard for me to get the images looking bright enough for you guys. So the colors might look a little more neon than in real life, but the colors being brighter was worth it for me for the video to be bright enough. So, all right, now in our garden, some of these areas are pretty tiny, so I will probably only end up doing one color on some of them, like the stems. Not really worried about getting multiple shades in there. I'm just going to do a couple kind of chunks at a time. Back in. And for some of these, you definitely, what I find is easiest is you'll see I'm really choked up on that ferrule. I'm holding the pen really close to the tip. This gives you the most control over your pressure and your strokes versus if you're doing like big shading on skies or something like that, you want to be held your hand really far back or more in the middle at least, because it lets the marker kind of flow and move easier. The tighter you are closer to the nib of the marker, the more control and the easier it is to get that detail. My lightest color is the YG21. That's what's really making it pop and get that like bright, glowy, almost yellow feel. And you could definitely do multiple green families in here if you wanted. Because I had that green in my pattern paper, I really wanted to accentuate that and let that kind of green be my focus. Hey, Beverly. So I'm just going in, blending that out, and anywhere that I have enough room, I'm really trying to focus on leaving enough space for that highlight, that 21. Guys, every night before I do my live around probably 8 o'clock, I go in and I get my dog's bed and I bring it and I put it here behind me on the floor. And she's already asleep. Like she laid down at 8:30 when I was like, we went live. and she's snoring back there. Hopefully you can't actually hear her, but if you could, it's adorable. She's so funny. All right, let's do this bottom garden. And I don't know about anybody else, but my whole life for writing or drawing or coloring, I am somebody who has always held my paper sideways. So like when I write this way. I don't write like facing me. So um, don't stress about if you need to move your paper and manipulate kind of your setup of whatever is easiest for you, whatever feels the best for your hands and your wrists. Oh, good, Heather. She's so funny. She doesn't snore a lot, but when she does, man, she cracks me up. For this one, we're just going to go for it and work all the way across at once. Can't believe we're already 16 minutes in. When Michelle and I first talked about doing these lives, I was like, oh, a half hour is going to be plenty of time. And now I know sometimes I end up going over my 9 o'clock goal, but hopefully you guys don't mind, because I usually only do that if there's really enough stuff for us to talk about that long and create. I'd love to hear from you guys though. How long do you think a card takes you on average? Because for me, I'd say an average card is about an hour. If I'm not rushing and I'm just enjoying myself listening to an audiobook or watching like with a YouTube video in the back, my average card is about an hour. Is anybody else willing to confess their timeline? Because sometimes I say that and people are like shocked. So, but maybe it's just me. All right, let's go in and make some of these like little daisies. I grab some yellow. My darkest yellow is going to be my Y19. I want the darkest color coming from the center, and then I'm going to do the right-hand side on the right and the left-hand side on the left. For this little one, I'm just going to do from the center. And to me, these look like this flower, just not open all the way. So we're going to color them the same. So I'm going to go in with the Y19 as my medium. Nope. Y08 as my medium. And then Y15 as my lightest shade. Back to my 19. We're going to do kind of a middle again. And then on the bottom part of each petal, where that shadow would naturally occur. Yeah, me too, Heather. That's a fair point. It all depends on what you're using, right? If it's pre-made stuff or like bigger things that can kind of like take up a lot of real estate quickly, then yeah, like a half hour, 45 minutes definitely seems fair. But I agree, for anything that is like super crazy ink blended and definitely colored, I'm definitely looking at an hour too. Oh, we went up the line there a little bit. It's okay, we'll clean that up with a gel pen later. And I think I want just a little bit of a white center. So I'm going to go in with some W3 just to create a little bit of shadow on there. Nothing too crazy, but it'll just help to kind of break up. Actually, that might not even be dark enough. Let's go with W5. And that just gives us that little hint of coloring in there. And then I think this guy down here is also a daisy. So let's go ahead and knock that one out real quick. Because it's smaller, I'm not going to worry about the lower parts. Just going to do the centers. And missed a leaf. Silly me. And then W. Okay. 4. That's probably 1 too. Yeah, because those are going to be a different one. Sorry, guys. One last daisy. In the past, I think I've only done one garden at a time. But I just love the idea of using both since we're doing that horizontal card to really create that garden the whole way across. So for these flower petals on the back, I'm going to pull that shadow kind of all the way across the middle, because that's how, if the light was coming kind of from the front, that's how your shadows would fall. And you definitely don't have to focus on worrying about like your light source. But if you are trying to learn coloring, thinking about your light source and having a consistent light source in your project is definitely something that'll help take your coloring to the next level. Go. Okay. Now for real this one. So I have blue, pink, and blue and a pink. So these are definitely the same. So let's go in with pink for that. I'm starting with an R14. Just going to lay in some dots for that one because it's so small. And then just kind of flicking up some color in the middle of these, kind of where one little pod covers the other. Then I'm jumping to R32. I'll just fill that one in. My lightest shade, which we could probably have honestly just skipped, but I already pulled it, so we're going to use it, is the R11. I think we're going to have to bring in some purple just because there's too many flowers. So I think for blue, they're not the same, but we're going to do these big guys, and then we'll just bring in a little hint of purple for these little itty bitties. So I'm going to do BO4 and kind of add some extra shadow to those back petals. Pull some color from the middle of this one. pull some color from the middle of this one. And BO2. I'm just focusing for these bigger petals just on pulling that pigment out to the edges of that petal. And then my highlight is going to be my B00, which is definitely a jump. But as long as I overlap those colors, should be good. I can tell this is a marker that I use for skies so often because my nib is definitely very wiggly, which for me, that means that I've been using it on its side and really sweeping it around a lot. Okay, for this guy, we're going to just add a little bit of that Y15. And then I think I'm going to bring in my pinks again for the centers of this. So R32, just kind of making that C shape. And then the R11 to blend it out. Very cute. And then we need a little pop of purple, I think. So let's do some V15 and V12. I'm just going to do the 15, the darker, on all of those petals, and we'll do these little dots too. The color doesn't, I mean, this area is so small, the color doesn't really matter, but you and I will know it's there. Okay, I missed one more little green part. And then my V12 will be, which has a tiny hint more pink to it, will just be my little dots. So there is our garden. Now let's jump to our bugs. Hey, Kelly. All right, so I'm going to do our 59 for my darkest red. We're going to start up here with this cute little bug. Yeah, the pink. I'm only going to do 2 colors for the reds because there really isn't a lot of space on them because their face and the dots are going to be black. So let's just go ahead and we'll do all 3. So I'm focusing that darkest color on the outer part of her little shell. And then going in with the R29 to fill in the rest of that area, which will give us a really beautiful true red pop. And it's okay if I get into the spots a little bit because we're going to be using some really dark neutral gray markers for those to make them black. There are our red bugs. Now for the black areas, we're going to go with neutral gray 8. And I want the dots to be really dark. So for those, we're just going to use the N8 and N6. But for the face, I really like to make sure that I'm not losing their expressions. So I'm going to use the N6 and the N8, but I'm also going to bring in just a touch of the N4, just right in the middle of her face to keep it brighter for that expression line. So I'm going to kind of outline the face with that N6 and then N4 right in the center. So it'll definitely still read as black, but this way we aren't losing any of that detail. Oh my gosh, how stinking cute. And we're going to go back in with gel pen to add some highlight to them when we fix my little Copic splotch mark I made. And when we do that, the thing is, I like to make sure my ink is really dry before I do that, because especially with the reds, if you went over it with white gel pen now, it would turn pink. It'll pick up that red pigment. So for this one with the wings open, I'm going to shade the inside of that shell with that darkest color. I'm going to shade the body and the arms and legs also with that dark color. And just a little bit around that side of the face. Then we're going to jump in with that 6 for my dots. We're going to pull in a little bit on the body. Same idea on the face as before, just kind of outlining the face and bring some of that color really lightly into the underwings. Then N4, filling in the body. I'm going to add some to the wings, but then I'm also going to go back in with my YG21, which was my lightest green shade, and add just a little bit of color to those underwings. I think it just adds a really cute little pop. Oh, the wrong way. Duh, there she is. Super cute. Thanks, Kelly. All right, so our last one, a little sleeping bug. At this point, we know exactly what the plan is. This one's got a little bit of a bigger forehead space. So I need room for that N8. N6. And N4. So let me grab, let's do a number 8 gel pen. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean up my Copic spell right there. And I mean, yellow is pretty light anyway, so we aren't doing anything crazy. I'm just kind of coloring over it to blend it away a little bit. For my ladybugs, I think I'm going to do 3 little like freckles. And then we want to give them some good, strong shine marks on that shell. Here we go, just like that. A little shine, some cute freckles. This one I went, you know what, I think for the eye I need my 5. It's just 1 step thinner, but I went into his eye with the gray a little bit. I'm just reinforcing the little, just do all of their freckles with the 5. But I really love that 8 for that bold highlight. And for my highlights, I'm basically just making a curved exclamation point, exclamation mark. There you go. absolutely adorable, right? I see people, Kelly, that do like the white dots kind of accented all over, and I always want to try it, but I don't know. It doesn't always fit the style that I think I'm going for. But anytime I see somebody else do it, I just love it so much. So I figure if nothing else, the little bit of shine and character it gives to these guys is perfect. But if anybody out there is watching who does the little dots like all over that style, just know that I love that look. I'm just peeling all of my little die cuts out. I just have them on here with some double-sided tape, which I thought I got enough of the tackiness off of, but apparently it was a little stickier than I thought. In real life, I do not color this way, for the record. This is just for lives. Normally, I just stamp them and color them and then die cut them afterwards. But pulling out my Big Shot during lives is just not the easiest thing. And I don't have the desk space or office area to keep it up somewhere all the time. Okay, here we go. So I have all of my pieces. I have my card base. Let's get a little bit of a game plan together. See, I just think that looks so cute. So we could do it this way. I think I like it better like that. That's pretty cute. And we can do our little sentiment right there. Add in some of our bigger leaves and our little sleepy bugs. That might be cute. I was going to center it, but if we offset it a little bit, we could add that leaf and our little sleeping bug right there. I think that's cute. And we can have one flying over here and our other leaf and one crawling somewhere. I like that idea. Let's do that. So I am going to be using some foam tape, but for the main flower pieces, I think I want those glued down flat. So let's go ahead and start that. Right? It's such a happy spring card. This is exactly the kind of project that I needed in my life. It started to get warm and then it tricked me, the weather here, and it got cold again. And not really cold, but I was ready for like 60-degree days and it dropped down. So all of our flowers are blooming here though. My daffodils are up in my garden and I am ready for some warmth. So I'm going to use this line of my embossing folder to line up the garden. And I want these to come over the edge a little bit, but not over the edge of my pattern paper. Same on this side. We're going to line that up. Press that down. So for this side, we're going to trim that a little bit. And I don't feel like cutting my foam tape super thin. Your high was 89 degrees, Heather. You're trying to make me cry? Are you one of the Florida gals, Heather? I'm gonna assume with the sunflower fields, that's a yes. But go a little note from me to you. Now is when we're gonna bring in that foam tape. So if you haven't hung out with me before, this is my face-sized foam tape that I love so much. Oh, in Southern Florida, oh man. Oh, Jay, 35. That's no good. How long does it take you guys to get warm there? Probably forever. So I want this scooped down just a little bit. And I'm gonna put my little sleepy bug. Oh my gosh. Oh good, Jay, it'll be warm by April. The subtropics in Australia, I can't even imagine. Oh, thank you, Heather. We love knowing that, I love knowing that these lives are inspirational, that they get you guys thinking. And if it also gets you purchasing and supporting Pink and Main even more, then that is a great bonus. So thank you for that. Yes, including the foam tape. Okay. So I just put the foam tape on my little ladybug higher up, just on the top of her head. So that way I can make sure that it's situated still on the leaf, but when I push down, it'll attach to the card panel and then it'll be flush. So just one layer depth of foam tape. So that is one sleepy bug down. This one, I definitely want floating up, flying up in that other corner. And then our one happy one walking around is going to have to find a home somewhere in the middle, I think. Let's see. We could have it on that one. We could peel that up. And kind of add a leaf. I don't know if that makes sense. I think we're just going to add it to there. I think that's good. It all arrives tomorrow. That's so good. Shipping is definitely quick from Pink and Main. Anytime I order stuff, you know it gets here pretty fast. I can't wait to see what you make. Definitely tag Pink and Main and anything you make with it, Heather. And if you feel like it or you remember, if you tag me on Instagram or Facebook, it's Caitlin Annalie Cards. You definitely don't have to, but I would love to see what you make. All right, so that one's right there. I think our extra leaf is just extra, and that's fine. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to add a little sparkle, but I really love these white glitter enamel dots. So I think I'm just going to do a couple. Oh, I lost one. I think kind of just tucked around, almost like little dewdrops, where it won't really be distracting. It's not a lot of color. It won't like pull the eye. I think it'll just add a fun little, yeah, pop of color. Well, pop of shimmer. All right. So there is our card. A little note from me to you with some little hidden enamel dots. And then inside we have "We should hang out soon," all in our matching inks. So I hope that you love this one as much as I do. I definitely feel better just getting to hang out with you guys and color for a little bit. If you have any requests for topics that you want to see or products you have questions about, if you've seen somebody else do something and you're nervous to try it out yourself, definitely leave me a comment on any of these videos. I go back and check them regularly just in case. And I would love to answer any questions that I can or help inspire you to create something new. So if you haven't already, make sure that you are following Pink and Main on Facebook, that you're subscribed on YouTube. My information is in the description, no matter where you are as well, in case you really like hanging out with me. And I will be back on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for another fun spring card. So yeah, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I hope you have an amazing Wednesday, and I will see you on Thursday. Until then, happy crafting.